Good morning, everybody. How are you feeling today? Good. That was like the warm-up. So how are you really feeling today? You excited for Norwich Pride? Oh, that was loads better. Well done. So my name's Nick, and I am a patron of Norwich Pride. I officially retired from Norwich Pride last year, but I'm back again. Because it's such a great event. So welcome today to the Natasha Curson Trans Talk, and great that you're here so early. At 10:15, good effort. And we've got a lot going on now in the lead up to the march. And we will be done by the time the march starts to get you there in good time. So relax and enjoy and get involved. So I just want to take a moment to remember Natasha Curson. So Natasha Curson was a fantastic trans activist who was involved with Norwich Pride and worked at UEA and was very active up there as well. I was kind of looking online at a few articles that she wrote yesterday, and I found one that she wrote in 2010 or 2011 that was in The Guardian. And it was talking about how she hadn't been open at work, but the legislation that was passed then, the Gender Recognition Act, the Human Rights Act, everything that was positive around that time had made it more welcoming and possible for her to be herself at work. And then I reflected on how things feel today and how things feel a little bit different and why events like this are really important. So this first event is going to take part as a discussion. So we've got two speakers, and our two speakers are Alister, who is a proud trans man, osteopath, educator, and advocate. He believes in creating a world where every family and everybody feels safe and supported, and his pronouns are he, him. And then we've got Serena James, pronouns she, her. She has always been trans, but only out since 2012. She ran Oasis until 2022, a transgender support group for East Anglia, and is still very much involved in the group. And their discussion this morning is going to be focused on the idea of trans joy in this time we're living in being a real act of resistance. So please give them a big Norwich Pride welcome, and I'll hand over to them.
Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, Nick. So, hello and welcome. My name is Alister, and as Nick said, I am an out and proud trans man, and I'm also an osteopath, and I also work within the healthcare system to help educate healthcare professionals on how to talk to and treat trans people with respect and dignity that we deserve. And I also am a volunteer at the LGBTQ project here in Norfolk, and I help run some of the drop-in sessions, but we also offer one-to-one support and trainings as well.
Hi, everybody. I'm Serena, and as Nick said, I've always been trans. Now, there was an event in my life when I was 5 years old, and I regard that as the moment that I remember, that's when my trans journey started. Of course, the word transgender hadn't been invented then, so I didn't know what I was, but that was the moment. And I have to say that never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that 71 years later, I would be sitting here talking to you in the forum at Pride. Damn, I've given my age away. Now, I know a lady shouldn't tell you the age, but it does mean, of course, that one of the reasons I'm invited here is because I'm so old, and it's that sort of balance of age. Alistair's very, very young. I'm very, very old, but it does mean that I can reflect back on a very, very long life at all the events that have happened. Also, Nick told you that I wasn't able to come out until 2012, but that means that for the past 13 years, I have been able to walk around Norwich, out and proud, in this fabulous city that's so accepting. And look at today, Norwich Pride. It's just an absolutely joyful, wonderful day. I never imagined that it would happen. It struck me, I didn't know anything about Natasha Curson, and I thought it would be jolly useful to find out. But there isn't a huge amount online about Natasha. And by an amazing coincidence, I was having lunch on Thursday, and this person dropped into the conversation that they used to work with Natasha. How amazing is that? So I found out that Natasha was actually Nigel when she went to the UEA and joined the Centre for Staff Education and Development. And she transitioned in 2008. And this person told me that it was a really, really wonderful thing. Everything worked brilliantly. Because of the person that she was very happy to answer questions. She didn't kind of push it. She just wanted to educate people. That was her role, to just try and get the message out there about what being trans is about. The other wonderful thing about Natasha is that she had a supportive wife and a supportive family. And that's really, really important. I am also extremely lucky. Because, believe it or not, when I came out in 2012, my wife and I had already been married for 42 years, and she had no idea about me at all. I kept my transness a secret for 58 years. It was a very, very difficult thing to do. I am one of the lucky ones because my wife and I are still together. And this year, we've actually been together for 57 years. My children know, thank you. My children, two of them, all my children know, unfortunately, there is also always a bit of the risk of collateral damage. So two of them are very supportive, one of them isn't, but hey, there we go. We have to kind of live with that. And so that I was very pleased to find out that Natasha Curson was in a very similar situation. As Nick said, she was an activist and a writer. And she was very sadly passed away far too early when she was in her 50s in about 2012. So that's Natasha Curson, and it's wonderful. I can't thank you enough for asking me to come along and speak today.
And I think that's where our coming out stories and our transitions are quite similar. I also came out later on in life, and when I was in my late 30s. I'm not as young, thank you for saying, as you might think I am. I am in my 40s. And I too was very lucky in that when I came out to my now wife, she was incredibly supportive about what I was telling her and how I felt. And also we have a lovely 10-year-old daughter who is probably my biggest advocate. She enjoys marching during Pride, and she will happily tell all her friends and anyone who'll listen about how proud she is of me being her dad. Yeah, and I've been very lucky in the work that I do and the role that I have within the community as well, that I get to share my journey regularly with clients of mine, whether that's working with the project or whether that's actually patients of mine that come and see me for treatment. And I like to be open and honest with them and allow them to ask questions in a safe space where they can then learn about what it's like to be a trans individual. And as Serena said, I could not imagine, 10 years ago being sat on this stage, being able to talk to you all today in this wonderful home city of mine and celebrating Pride. And although lately there has obviously been a lot of negativity in the media, particularly towards the trans community, it's nice to be able to be here to share some of the joy with you. And just the help from community and the support that we've had to help the trans community through the difficult times that we've been facing recently.
So I found online one of Natasha's blogs in 2010, and I think the blog was called The Gentle Art of Getting the Hell On With It. And she wrote something along the lines of, it's in 2010, fortunately, the press and media are becoming better informed, but there is still quite a long way to go, is what she said in 2010. And it kind of made me think about what's happened after that time. And as Nick said, there's a lot of not such nice stuff out there. We today, our brief today was not to dwell on that, but to look at the the happy things, the good things. But we can't get away from the fact that there is still an awful lot of not nice stuff out there. And it struck me that just 3 years after Natasha wrote that thing in her blog, there was a very ghastly article in the Daily Mail, perhaps I shouldn't even mention that dreadful rag, written by a journalist called Richard Littlejohn, 2013. And in Accrington, there was a teacher, a primary school teacher, who was wanting to transition. And so at the end of the Christmas term, the head told the parents that Mr. Upton would be coming back to school as Lucy Meadows. And when it got picked up by the press, it went viral. And the vitriol was just unbelievable. Poor Lucy Meadows had the entire world's media camped on her front garden. And by February, she committed suicide. So that was the reality of how newspaper reporting can affect people. So although Natasha Curson said it's getting better, clearly there was still a long way to go. So I started looking, knowing I was going to do this, I started looking at our local press, and I found some really, really positive and encouraging articles. So in the EDP, for example, we have Keyboard Warrior. And here's an article called, Following the Supreme Court Judgment, Won't Somebody Think About the Men? And it was really a very uplifting and positive article. And I like that because I read lots of articles that make me very angry. I leap up and down and want to shout and scream. And another one that he wrote, which is called Take Pride in showing you care about each other's. And look, that's what we got today, the pride flag. That's what we need to do. So these are very positive articles. And then, of course, and we'll talk a bit more about healthcare later on, but this is a quote from the CEO of the Norfolk and Waveney Hospital Group saying, "Hospitals defy trans ruling by the Supreme Court." Great, that makes me very happy. That's good. I'm told it's not quite as brilliant as that, but actually the sentiment is there. So it's important that we are today focusing on the real positives. Do you want to say something about healthcare, your experiences of that?
Yeah, certainly. So when I came out as trans, I knew I was trans from probably about the age of 5, and didn't have a word for it, didn't understand it as such, but knew that I was different. And then all through my childhood, I just grew up as being a bit of a tomboy. And eventually, when I was probably about 18, 19, I discovered this word transgender and did some more research into it and realized that was the fit for me. However, I did not feel brave enough. I did not feel that I could come out as Alister at that age, so suppressed the feelings and kept it all bottled up until, say, into my late 30s when I felt that I couldn't keep it bottled up any longer. And so as I came out, I then needed to navigate the healthcare system. So for myself, I didn't want to wait any longer for hormones. We all know that the wait times for transgender people to start their hormone replacement therapy, if that's the route they wish to go down, are very, very long. And we're talking sort of 5 years or so. So I was fortunate enough to be able to go privately to receive my hormone therapy, hormone replacement therapy. And within the private groups or clinicians that I saw, they were fantastic. Yeah, very supportive, very helpful, and as you would expect them to be. But then my problems came as I then moved more into being looked after by the NHS and coming across a couple of healthcare professionals who were not quite so welcoming to my lifestyle and my gender identity. However, saying that, the majority of them are very good. Sometimes they get it a little bit wrong, but as a whole, they are fantastic. And that then led me on to doing the work that I do in trying to educate the healthcare help educate healthcare professionals and how to treat trans patients with dignity and respect that we deserve. But saying that 2 out of probably 20, 30, 40 healthcare professionals that I've come across with my own transition have been negative. The others have been very, very positive. And the fact that you're saying with the article that the Norfolk and Norwich are standing with the trans community is absolutely, fantastic for us and a great step forward for all of us.
And I'm just going to add to that my experiences, I have a very, very close friend who is trans and similar age, a little bit older than me, and required emergency treatment at the NNN earlier this year and ended up on a ward. And what I would like to say is that she received the utmost respect, dignity, sensitivity. I can't praise the way that she was looked after highly enough. And I think, we need to shout about the good things, and that was brilliant. So just moving on a little bit, Nick mentioned that until 2012, I was, to use the phrase, in the closet. And it was not an easy time. So imagine now that it's 2012, we've been married for 42 years, and suddenly my wife is confronted with this person who's transgender. And I'm in sleepy Norfolk, and I go, what on earth do I do now? So fortunately, in this day and age, we can use the internet, which was not available when I was growing up. So I had absolutely no information to go on whatsoever. So I Googled being transgender in Norfolk. And what came up but oasisnorfolk.com. The wonderful, wonderful group called Oasis, a transgender support group started in 1983 by the incredible Barbara Ross, OBE. So Barbara was a social worker who moved up to Norfolk in the late 70s. And she was referred a client called Robert, and she was told that you need to meet this young man, Robert. He's probably gay, but in fact, Robert wasn't gay. He was transgender, but back in those days, people didn't really know much about it. Sadly, Robert took his own life, and it provided Barbara with the motivation to devote the rest of her life to helping the transgender community, which is why she was awarded the OBE in 2011. Barbara sadly died in 2015, and so I was lucky enough to meet her and became a friend of hers. She was an extraordinary person. She started Oasis, a group that is still running today. It's very strong. We have lots and lots of members. Some of them, my fan base, are in the audience supporting me today. And without Oasis, I don't know quite how my life would have turned out. And the point about it is that we wanted to say, didn't we, the strength of community support, having a community around you to give you the support you need. It's not an easy life being transgender. When I meet new people, I say, look, it's tough. It's not an easy thing, and you need support. Now, I know Nick has got a different support network, and I expect, sorry, not Nick, Alister has got a different support network, and I'm sure Alister will say something about that. But outside, we've got our Oasis stand, and for me, they have been basically a lifesaver. So do come along and have a chat with us later on. So what about you, Alister? What's your support group?
So my support group started off mainly being close friends and family. Already knowing a couple of transgender people certainly helped, and having close, well, I say friends, but they really are family as well to me, there to support me and to just guide me and allow me to ask questions and get advice from them. But then also through the LGBTQ project, I went along to one of their drop-in sessions for trans men and people assigned female at birth. And they were fantastic, and just helping signpost me to where I can go to find out the information that I needed to carry on with my journey. And then being a trans person and getting involved in sport is a really tricky subject at the moment. And I was lucky enough to find the Iceni rugby team, touch rugby team, who are LGBTQ inclusive and are a fantastic support. We have great fun on the pitch as well as off the pitch, and it is another group that I've added to my family. And being trans and playing sport with them, it's not an issue at all. It's just I'm one of the team, and anyone who comes along to us is just one of the team. So yeah, I think community and support, whatever that may look like for you, is really, really, really important. And I think as a community, as a whole, we should stand up for each other, and yeah, support each other through these times. And yeah, being trans is not easy. Every day you have to navigate situations and feelings, and you know, am I gonna be safe walking into the toilet today, or etc. etc. So yeah, community and support is
Excellent.
Brilliant.
So that's the rugby, and amazingly, about 2 weeks ago, I was at an LGBT event held in the Norfolk and Norwich Hospital, and this lovely lady thrust a poster in my hand and said, "Hot off the press." And there are 3 dates, and there's August the 12th, I think it is, and September the 2nd and September the 16th. There is an LGBT softball cricket evening at the UEA sports ground. And I thought, wow, I haven't played cricket for 20 years. That sounds like fun. I shall go along and join that. So yeah, it's great to have these things. So more positives. Here's the thing. There is an amazing person called Victoria MacLeod. Now, Victoria MacLeod is a transgender barrister. And in fact, she was very brilliant. She transitioned in the late 90s. And she was obviously so good that they appointed her as a High Court judge. Wow, who'd have thought? A transgender High Court judge. That's pretty amazing. And she was so good that she was appointed even higher to what was then a Queen's Bench Master, which is now obviously a King's Bench Master. She has actually stood down as a judge. But why am I telling you this story? Because she is actually taking the Supreme Court judgment to the European Court of Human Rights and challenging it. And I can think of no one better placed to challenge that ruling than Victoria MacLeod. So well done, her. Now, I'm looking at the time here, and we've just got over 5 minutes, just over 5 minutes. And so one of the things that I wanted to say at this point, as I said, I'm very old, I've had a long life, and it's, what would I tell my younger self? What advice would I give my younger self? Interesting question. So going back to a few years ago, I read this article in the East Anglia Press, another very, very positive article. And it's about a man called Lou Provart, who is a policeman in the Norfolk Constabulary. Now, Lou Provart, when he joined the Norfolk Constabulary, when he was interviewed to be a young constable, he said, "Hey, look, I'm gay, get over it. Take it or leave it." And he became a constable. He was very good, and he's been promoted. And he was the first openly gay policeman to reach the esteemed rank of superintendent. And he said in the article in the paper, and this is the bit that really, really struck home to me. He said, "If you do not live your life as your authentic, true self, you will never achieve what you are capable of achieving." And that really made an impression on me. So what advice would I give my true self, my young self? It would be to be honest, to be true to yourself, and to be out there and to be proud. I've told you there might be collateral damage, but hey, in the long term, just be yourself, be your real self. There are young people in this audience. Be your real self, and be out there, and especially today, be proud. Look at me, you know, after all these years, I've had 13 fantastic years of total, it's just been amazing. So be yourself.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And it's a fantastic question to ask, and it's not one that I've really thought about until this moment sat here with you. And yes, and I would say 100% be honest, be your true self. And for me, don't look back. Don't dwell on the, I should have done that differently, or if only I'd said this, or things like that. It's just look forward, take comfort, support from the people who offer it to you and who are there for you. And yeah, go out and live your life. And they say, you know, life is short, but life is also a very long time to live unhappy. So be who you want to be, love who you want to love, and be proud.
So I discovered this the other day, and it kind of it appealed to me, and it amused me. And I've called it my LGBT barometer, a sort of indicator of where we are. So having disclosed when I was born, or nearly, 6 months after I was born, on the 1st of January 1950, The Archers started. That amazing long-running radio program, The Archers, admittedly on the 1st of January. It was just a pilot program, and it actually started properly in 1951, and it's been running ever since. Now, I happen to know that when it started, it was written and produced by a man called Godfrey Bazley, who was possibly one of the most homophobic people living in the world. It was quite ghastly. But it survived, and so this is why bear with, this is why I'm telling you the story. So, glasses on. In 1996, The Archers had its first gay storyline, so 46 years after it started. In 2004, The Archers had its first gay kiss. And in 2006, The Archers had its first civil partnership. But, wait for it, coming soon, a transgender storyline on The Archers. Hey! How about that? So, this is my LGBT barometer, The Archers. We finally made it 75 years after it started. So there we go.
I don't have an LGBTQ barometer. I wish I had prepared one now. But I don't really quite know how to follow that, to be honest. Yeah, we've got a few minutes left. So I would just like to take a moment just to thank you all for spending your time coming to see us today and listen to us wittering on about our trans lives and our trans joy. Sorry? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. I didn't pay her to say that. Yes, and just thank you. Enjoy Pride. Enjoy the day. Love each other, and yeah, have a fantastic time.
So, thank you very much. And I shall also wrap up because we're nearly done. But remember that Natasha Curson, what she was so good at was being an advocate for the trans community, being out there, advocating, educating people. And I would just like to finish with, it's important that we do. And I'm going to finish with a famous quote from the American lawyer and politician Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It says, "Fight for what you care about, but do it in a way that leads others to follow you." So we need to be out there advocating, but doing it in that way. Bring everybody in. They've got to believe in us. We've always been here, and let's face it, we are not going to go away. So thank you so much for listening. I've enjoyed being here. I'm sure Alister has too. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think the round of applause says it all. I also think the amount of drawings and writing that Rebecca's done over there says it all. There was so much in that. And you know that once you've taken over the arches, there's nothing that can stop us, really. So that was just so uplifting, and thank you very much. In a difficult time, you've given us all some hope. I just mentioned Rebecca over there. Please also thank our signer here. And one more round of applause for Serena and Alister. Okay, thank you for keeping brilliantly to time. It is just after 2:45. From now, it gets pretty busy, so question time is at 11. Then we've got the short film, which is about trans inclusion in sport. And then it'll be time for the march. So if you want to stay here, that's cool. If you want to go nip to the toilet, get a coffee and come back, that's cool too. See you in a few minutes.